Nelson Braff is an entrepreneur and financier. He's also the founder of one of New York City's hottest establishments, the Hunt and Fish Club. But it's his philanthropic partnerships that are his biggest passion. And as Mike Wagenheim discovered, being Jewish and connected to Israel is the driving force.
They run the gamut. I guess I'm sort of a soft touch for different charities that move me for different reasons. And it's part of the life process, I guess. I was always sort of interested in it anyway, but as you get older and you realize, I don't know if I'm in the fourth quarter yet, but I'm certainly beyond halftime. And you start to kind of your focus changes on things aren't really going to change your life. If you do a little better or a little worse, are you going to buy a different house? Are you going to go out to eat more? You are who you are. And then so other things get priority, perhaps. I also had children a little later in life, and it's part of the process of them being involved in this stuff as well. So yeah, it's definitely part of what we do, both at the restaurant and me privately. It's a big part of what we do. Now my wife has joined in as well, thankfully, and she's doing some really great stuff as well.
How does your Jewishness play into your philanthropy?
The easier question would be, how does it not? And the answer would be not at all. How does it play in? The vast majority of what I'm involved with is directly tied into Jewishness or Israel, frankly. Whether it's because of, as a kid, I went to a yeshiva, partly for religious reasons, but mostly because we lived in a bad neighborhood and the schools were better. And I remember them teaching early on, you're Jewish if you see another Jew in some sort of distress, it hurts. And it does. And it always did. I wasn't always in a position to do anything about it. But I remember going door to door collecting money for Israel during the 6-Day War. I was in a housing project in Brooklyn. I was 6 or 7 years old, and I remember collecting money to send to Israel because of what we discussed in my yeshiva. And I guess that part of me never left. I was just at different points in my life. I was in different levels of ability to act upon it, either through personal finance or relationships or whatever else allows you to get involved.
So tell me about some of your efforts now, these different projects.
There's a lot.
What's at the top of your list?
The top of my list. So there's a few at the top of my list, but that implies there's a bottom of the list, and there's no bottoms. And so the things I care the most about right now, selfishly, is an organization called Yehad in Unum, which is a French priest named Father Patrick Dubois, who has made it his life's mission, with the permission of the Pope, to travel through Eastern Europe to discover the unmarked graves of people who died before the concentration camps. Everyone has seen the old black and white photos of these giant holes with the Nazis killing the Jewish people, throwing them in the ditches and covering them up. After the war ended and the camps were liberated, nobody went back and recognized these bodies that were in these mass graves. As per Father Dubois, the idea that 6 million Jews died is just wrong. He said it's over 7. There's over 1 million bodies in these holes that he's uncovering. Clearly, there's not a lot of time left in terms of his getting eyewitness account of where these mass graves actually are. So I held an event for him here, a fundraiser, and I was introduced to him by the old 60 Minutes reporter. She's not old, but she used to be at 60 Minutes, Lara Logan. And she did an episode called The Hidden Holocaust. If anyone is watching this, you can Google Hidden Holocaust, find it on YouTube. It's about 11 or 12 minutes long. And it's hard. It's hard to see it. What's harder is to hear Father Dubois in person. Believe it or not, the 60 Minutes episode, is as horrific as it is actually the watered down version. So given that I found out later in life that much of my family actually is in those holes in the ground, and their friends and teachers and everybody, that's where we're from. There's also a small sense of urgency because of the timing. If somebody were 10 years old back then, they're 85 now. So if somebody was 2, they wouldn't know where the bodies were. They wouldn't remember. If someone were 20, chances are they're not here anymore. So there's a very limited window to be pointed out where these mass graves are. So that's one. And I'm continuing to do events and schedule events for Father Dubois. Another that I'm very actively involved with is Chai Lifeline, which is fairly well known in the New York Jewish community. I don't know how well known they are elsewhere. I'm really not sure. But that's essentially a charity involving sick kids, cancer and otherwise, and they have support groups for siblings and parents and that kind of stuff. So that's part of my very annual active thoughts and money and other things. I'm very much have gotten recently interested in a charity called NYPD with Arms Wide Open. The police in New York are great to us, and I've become friendly with a number of the NYPD. There's an organization within there with Arms Wide Open. It helps handicapped children of New York City police officers. So I've started to do some events around here for them as well, because unlike what you might read, or like I tell people all the time when it comes to the police, don't believe what you read or hear, believe your eyes and your brain. These guys are our friends, and they are here to help you and block out the rest of this stuff. They're terrific. My wife just got involved in an organization called Oasis, not far from where we live. It's a very low-income area where she's now every week goes to work with abused single moms and help them. Like I know today, in fact, she's going to teach them how to use the computer to find a job, how to use the internet. They recently just found an apartment, and we had to go raise things and money to fill up an apartment, old dishes and pots and pans and stuff like that. And so she just stumbled onto that recently and has been very active.